Hello, I am back with a new video and I am excited about this one because we are getting into some nitty-gritty of my 2026 planner setup. If you haven't seen my videos previously, I did mention that I will be doing a series of videos to set up my 2026 planner. And the reason why I am doing that is because I am building everything out from scratch. And so that means all of my inserts, all of the folders, everything that I'll be using with my 2026 planner will be from scratch. The one thing I won't be making is probably like pens. I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon. This video is going to be all about inserts. I will be making my own inserts as well as doing a little bit of cheating, but we'll get into that. So this is the traveler's journal that I will be using for 2026. So it's an all black cover and it's this really beautiful suede finish on the inside. And if you see it in some lighting, it does look like a deep navy blue. I'm not sure why that is, but it is definitely black. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and get started. Now, I have quite a few things here to look through. Now, of course, everybody knows the first option when it comes to Traveler's Notebook is to buy inserts. Traveler Company has their own production of inserts. There's also other companies who have produced Traveler journal inserts, like I think like Syracuse Studios. I know Sterling Ink also has her own line of like Traveler journal size planners as well. So this is a Traveler's Notebook. This is a monthly that I just ended up never using, but I do use this as a template when I do make inserts. The second option is to buy A5 notebooks. A5 is the size of Traveler's Journal. It's just a slim size, but it is not an A5 Slim. Don't get it confused. If you were to purchase an A5 Slim, it's actually slightly bigger than the Traveler's Notebook. In that sense, Traveler's Journal is its own custom size. And that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but nonetheless, this is an A5 notebook. This is an Italian brand, I believe, called Faberino. And they have, I don't think paper is fountain pen friendly, but it is still a really good quality of paper, and I purchased this at my local art store. This is another one that I'll be using. This is Oasis. And then for purchasing Traveler Journal notebooks, this is actually a Kimbor that this is an impulse purchase. I know that I'm never going to use it, but I really still like looking at it. I really love the paper quality and everything. But I have it, it's on my shelf, and if there ever is a time that I feel like I need it, it's there. But this is also another option. What I also do is I also make my own inserts. So I'm still experimenting on how I'm making inserts. In the past, I actually used to stitch my notebooks. So this is an example of stitching. I did the stitching as the same color as the cover, so it might not show. And that is because I have a lot of different scrap paper. So I wanted to give this a shot and, try making inserts with different types of paper. The problem is that you have to carry around a lot of different mediums when you make an insert like this, and that's a little bit cumbersome for me. But this one is just a full-on vellum. This is a type of vellum. It's more like a trace paper, but this is also like something that I've made. And as you can see, the stitching is in the middle. This is my latest experiment, and that is using staples and having a hard cover instead of a more like a paper cover for an insert. So I'll be making a few inserts today just because I do need a few inserts for my 2026 lineup, and I also need a few inserts for expenses. I use this to plan YouTube. I have like a YouTube calendar in here. So I have a YouTube calendar, and having inserts like that are thin and compact saves me a lot of space compared to like a thicker A5 notebook. Nonetheless, let us go ahead and get started. So I think I'll make 1 or 2 today. These inserts do take a lot of time and a lot of work. The first step I did in making my inserts was I went on Photoshop and I actually made some layouts. These are actually all grid layouts because that's what I need the most right now. I made some grid layouts in Photoshop and I printed them and then cut them to size. This is actually sketch paper. And as I was doing this, it actually is a lot more difficult than I realized to make sort of correct layouts. So if we look, so these are both sketch and I think I have one, and this is mixed media. So there are some calibration issues that I do have to take some time and energy to fix, but nonetheless, I started it. I think they're pretty decent for now. I think as I practice making inserts, I will develop it along the line. And I think for this setup, I'm going to use my sketch inserts. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and use sketch paper for these inserts. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pick, what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna just organize the leaflets a little bit. It's quite thin, this one. This one's by itself. Now, as I get better at making the inserts and I get to a point that like it's good to go, I will go ahead and put the document on the internet on my blog so that if you're interested in making your own inserts with whatever paper you want, you could easily just download the document and then you could just print by yourself and make them on your own. I'm trying to see how many I can. This is pretty thick. I like this. This is nice. It's a little bit thin. I think I'm gonna go ahead. I think this is good. Okay, so after organizing my inserts, I think I could come up with 3 inserts at a fairly decent thickness. Now, as you can see, the paper is not like exactly perfect, but I will be cutting down the paper to size. Now, if you can see with a typical Traveler's Journal insert, it is slightly bigger. So that's why I say I'm going to cut it down to size. The next thing to do is to actually get the papers that I want to use with this. Now, as you can see, I have several different types of paper here. I have handmade paper that I found at my local art store. I have like a decorative, I have a poster. This is actually, yeah, this is a poster that has like a ribbed paper texture that I really, really love, and that I actually wrapped my Hobonichis in these same poster papers. And then I also have traditional cardstock. So as I mentioned before, I have 2 types of Traveler Journal covers per se. I have one that's more of a thin paper and then one that is a hard cover. I will be doing a little bit of both. These cardstock papers is best for like this 1 layer cover, while these thinner poster materials are better for a hardcover notebook, which I will show you eventually. So for this year, I'm gonna go ahead, gosh, I want to make them all. I think I have to go get more cardstock. I don't think this is enough for me. I think I have to go get more, which is insane, but I have to. I just really, really love this. As you can see, this material is very, very similar to the Traveler's Notebook, but I think, oh my God, which one's my favorite? Oh, I want them all. I'm gonna go get more. I'm definitely gonna go get more. I think these were like 75 cents a piece. So which one to choose? I think I'm gonna go with, should I go with black? I think this one's calling my name. I'm gonna go buy another set of these because this is just so wonderful. I'm gonna go with one of this like charcoal gray blue color. Then I'm going to do this bird poster, or the scrap of this bird poster. And then I will do one of these. And I'll do all 3 of them differently just to give you an idea of what I'm doing. The first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put these to the side, is one of the first thing we're gonna do. I'm gonna take my Traveler's Journal and I'm going to lay it down. It sounds very obvious, but trust me, it's not as obvious as you think. Now, this is going to be the same exact side, but I am going to add a few centimeters of leeway just because I know that as I cut it down and make it look better, I'm going to need that extra tolerance. So I'm gonna take my T-square and I'm gonna go ahead and take a lead pencil to sketch this out because lead pencil works really good with cardstock in my opinion. Then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make a small mark on the top. I'm gonna take my T-square and I'm going to find that mark that just has oh so happened disappeared. I don't know where it went. I just marked it and then I think it's gone. We're go back and measure. Double measure, triple measure. Okay, we're gonna go right here. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is just cut because this is the simplest type of insert to make. I'm gonna use my Olaf utility knife. It is a Japanese brand. I've used this for quite a while and it's still one of my favorite products, if not my most favorite product that I probably have ever purchased when it came to stationery. So I'm just gonna go ahead, cut. Perfect. And as you can see, I have this beautiful piece of cardstock ready to go. Double check. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to align the cardstock and fold it in half. I think I made a mistake with the cut, but it's okay because I will trim to size. It's a little tough because it is a harder style cardstock, so it's really tough to fold. But, you know, do the best you can. We will cut to make sure that everything is a right angle. Okay, which is why we did the extra. I'm gonna go ahead, fold. It is a tough cookie, this one. Okay, next I'm going to take this wood clay tool. I mean, they also do sell like a book binding tool for this. If you don't have this, using your nails is a really good idea. But since I do have it, I am gonna go ahead and use it. I'm going to be very careful not to sort of ruin the texture of the cardstock because it is a really beautiful ribbed texture that I die for, really. So I'm going to go ahead, get this nice and tight. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the insert pages and I'm going to put it in like so. And as you can see, there is definitely some excess that's like outside, and that is okay because I did put a margin on the exterior of every page to make sure that, you know, it's not going to affect the actual grid layout. So there's two ways to do this now. You can either use a stapler or you can do the stitching, which is what I'm going to do. I do stitching because every time I've done the staple, I never get the bind. I never get the actual inside, like the inside crease correctly. So if I look at this insert, as you can see, like it's slightly off, and that is like not okay with me. So I actually have to sit and stitch because if I don't, a little piece of me goes crazy every time I open the insert. So to make sure my pages don't move, I'm going to use my handy dandy binder clips. These are the best invention on planet Earth. I adore these to death. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take one, make sure I get it as accurate as possible. I'm going to binder clip one side, binder clip the other side, and do the same on both sides of the insert. Okay, and thus we have a made insert, or I guess like the setup. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start the stitching process. So I'm actually gonna fold this over It's okay if it moves a little bit, it's fine. As long as you're doing the best we can. I'm gonna go ahead and move the strap. Now the next tool you'll need is either an awl like this. This is actually an ice pick, but I use it as an awl that is used for bookbinding, or you can use a thumbtack. This, you know, all you need is something to push holes into your insert. So either or, both are great options. After you have set up everything and everything's good to go, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put an odd number of holes. So the first thing you wanna do is mark out your center hole. So this bind is around 8 3/4. I know I'm gonna cut it down, so it's okay to go under a little bit. So I know 8 3/4 divided by 2 is around 4.5. So that's what I'm gonna just go ahead and do. So I do my center point at 4.5, and then I do 2 inches down both ways. And that will give me 5 holes, which will be an odd amount of holes. And what you can do is you can also add a few holes in the middle just to make the bind a little bit stronger, and that's actually exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm adding a hole in the middle as well. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my awl, or actually I'm going to go ahead and take my thumbtack. I'm going to take my thumbtack because I feel like this hole is too big, or this awl will make too big of a hole, and I'm just going to go ahead and stab. It's gonna take a minute, that's for sure. And as you can see with my thumbtack, I went all the way in the middle, as close to the bind as I possibly could. And I'm gonna do that for the rest of my holes. This one's tough. Now, as you can see, I put all the holes I needed for my insert, which is great. And so the only thing I have left to do is actually sew in the seam, or sew in the binding. So I'm gonna take some black twine, black string, and I'm gonna string my needle. Now, you do not need as much as you think. Don't add excess string. You will have a very hard time sewing your binding. It'll just be like too much string, it'll be too much excess, and it will be extremely cumbersome. So for one of my inserts here, I think it was this one, I strung like how many times? Like 1, 2, 3, like 6 times I went over with this binding, and it took me literally like an hour, and I was like, that's stupid, I don't really need this much. So I will be doing a double string here, yeah, just to make it stronger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie the edge like so. You can do like this, I know there's like a sewing like knot that you can do, but I'm gonna make this super thin. I don't want it showing in my notebook. It's gonna take me a minute though, my goodness. All right, made them even. I'm gonna tie them. I'm gonna slowly pull, and then we have a knot. I'm going to start at my center stitch, which is right here. I did make them a bit uneven, and that's my fault, but I am okay with it because I will be trimming down a little bit on this side. And as long as it's not annoyingly abrasive, it's fine. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the center stitch, and I'm going from the inside. You want to start from the inside of the notebook. I'm going to pull till I get the knot to the paper. Now, actually, if you look this up on the internet, it's actually called saddle stitch. So I have seen a tutorial where it's called saddle stitch your notebook or something like that. I'm basically doing the same thing, but I'm just pushing. I'm just doing like you would do like a normal stitch for clothing, and I'm just doing alternatives, I guess you could say. So I'm stitching, I'm making sure the string is tight. I want to make sure that there's no quote-unquote like lag. And then I'm gonna go in and out the exterior, interior, exterior, interior. I'm gonna pull that all the way, make sure the stitching is fine. And then once I get to the end of the notebook, I'm gonna go back inside the alternative holes. So I'm just gonna, and as you can see, it turns into one stitching, or I guess like one binding. Go back, pull, make sure everything is as taut as possible. We're gonna go back into the original center hole. Again, make sure everything is as taut as possible. Double check as you go. It's gonna be the easiest way to make sure your stitching is as neat as possible. I'm gonna go back. Make sure it's taut. Now, what you can do is you can actually keep going multiple times into the notebook or into the holes and continue the stitching. I'm not necessarily going to do that. I'm just going to finish the stitching that I have and try to get back to that center hole. I don't know if I have enough to get to that back to that center hole, but I think I do. So we're gonna go one more time. Yeah, I think I'll have enough to get there. Yeah, all right, perfect. So I'm ending my stitch. Okay, that works. So how to end your stitch is quite simple. What you want to do is you want to take that knot, you want to pull up a little bit. It might be hard to see, but if you can pull up a little bit and string your needle in between the two, in between sort of that gap. So I'm gonna go ahead, there you are. I'm gonna string it in between the two, and then I'm gonna go in to this loop part, and I'm gonna put the needle through the loop, and I'm gonna basically just knot it. Pull, 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 and then get as close as possible, and then there we go. And now it's knotted. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim as close as possible to the knot, trim, trim, and then you have your stitch binding. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off my clips like so. I'm gonna close it like so, and then we have a stitch binding. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna trim the edges. As you can see, the paper is coming out at the edges, and I knew that was gonna happen because I did it on purpose. So I'm gonna take my T-square again. I'm gonna line it up to the edge of the notebook, and I'm only cutting off like millimeters. I'm not cutting off a lot. I'm just making sure the notebook is as straight as possible. And of course, you don't want to move your T-square until you have made sure you've cut correctly. And I don't know what's going on today, but I am not cutting correctly. I don't usually have this many mistakes when I cut, but it still turned out pretty nice. I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna cut this edge a little bit like so, and I'm just gonna trim. Yeah, I'm moving my T-square a little too much, but it's okay. And thus, we have a finished insert. And this is the insert that I will be using for sketching. I need a sketching insert, and this is what I'll be using. As you can see, it's a pretty decent insert. I will be doing some decor and stuff like that when I go to use it, but for right now, that is my first insert. I will be doing a part 2 of the video to show you how I do hardcover inserts. Right now, I just don't have time, but till next time, I will see you later. Bye!